this video, we're going to talk about adding line items to quotes. So if you're new to Mothernode or just getting started with Mothernode, there are a variety of different ways that you can add line items to your quotes and your orders for estimating and ordering purposes. So with that in mind, a couple of things. First of all, there's going to be chapters listed down below so you can jump to the section that you want to review and learn about when it comes to adding certain types of line items to quotes. And secondly, I won't be demoing this in orders, but everything I'm about to show you in quotes is also accessible in orders. So let's get right into it. I'm going to open up this quote that I have here with the purpose of showing you how you can add different kinds of line items using different tools to your quote, and I'll talk about when each one of these might be more beneficial than the other depending on the circumstance. So let's go right into it. We're going to go over here into the quote entry screen, and the first thing I want to call out is this. This is a brand new quote that we made, and we have a service item already added to this. In this case, it's going to be shipping. This is because in Mothernode, using service items, you can automatically have commonly used services automatically added to every brand new quote, so you don't have to go ahead and do it. So if it's going to be install or shipping, and that's going to be on like 80 to 90% of your quotes, it's easy to just remove it than it is to just go ahead and add it. If you're going to go ahead and add it, you're going to add a service item, which I'll show you in just a moment. But to make this happen, I want to share with you how this works. If you go into your inventory module, okay, and then you click on products and services, then what's going to happen is we're going to look for the FedEx. I'll search for this, and when you'll see it in the list here as an example, it's going to say default item on quotes. You can actually add default items to orders as well. You can do it with purchase orders and installation work orders too, okay? But in this case here, you can see that it's going to be added to quotes. If I open up this particular record, you'll see here that this is where I can add the different items to. Okay, so in this case here, I'm going to say automatically add the services to quotes. All right, if I were to uncheck this, the next time I make a quote, FedEx will not be automatically added to it. Okay, all right, so let's go back to where we were. We're going to go into this quote, and that is going to be the first lesson for including these. Now, there's going to be a couple of instances here where I don't want my quote to get too crazy. I want to stay laser focused and not confuse the audience, so I'm going to start adding things and then removing them, okay? All right, in this particular instance over here, let's do this. We're going to remove this line item, and now we don't have any line items over here, all right? Okay, perfect. So the first one I want to go ahead and look at, we're going to cover all of these and a bit more, but in this case over here, I want to look at freeform. So what is freeform? Freeform is going to be where I'm just typing anything in the world that I want. Okay, so I could put the product name as an example, or the item that I'm going to be selling. I put in the quantity over here, so I'm going to say a quantity of 10. I have my unit of measure. This list, by the way, is all going to be determined by you. So this is a longer list that we have in our demo account, but here you can shorten that list. So everything you're going to have there as far as unit of measures is controlled by you in your admin settings. And then over here, I'm going to say the unit cost is going to be $100 or $100, and now I have a markup which I can put in here for $100. Now, another thing that you'll also notice before I apply my markup, if you're wanting to sell it for something and you need to figure out, hey, what's the markup going to be if I were to sell this for $400 or $500 or whatever that may be, just use the markup calculator, and then you can put in your desired sale price. So if I want to say I'm going to sell this for $500, I can say calculate, and then it's basically going to say it's a 400% markup. Okay, I'm getting the unit cost over here, which is the 500, and it's giving me a total of 5,500 times the 10 over here. Okay, so I have that here like that. All right, if I want to apply a discount, I can certainly do that too here. Now, the description, this is going to be basically a product description. It goes here. Okay. Now, one of the things that you would probably want to do when using freeform is, I have customers that do this all the time. They just rely on freeform, they put it in and they build it out like this, and that's perfectly fine if you want to do that. But obviously, if you're new to Mothernode, Mothernode does have a variety of different pricing capabilities and things you can be doing, which we'll be exploring in just a minute. But if you want to use freeform, you can put that here. Where it's most often used is going to be if you're buying products and services out. okay? Because you can easily make a purchase order off of whatever line item you're putting in here. So if you want to buy products out, you don't store this data within your Mothernode account. You're just replicating what a vendor had given you in a quote. You can put that information there and line it up and then just basically make it taxable, non-taxable. You'll see the verbiage made here, made out. So if you want to classify your goods and services that are made in-house versus bought out, that will help you define that as well. So you can see made here, made out is going to be made here is in-house, bought out is going to be made out, okay? If it was non-taxable, whether or not the entire quote is taxable, this item would be non-taxable, okay? So we're just going to keep everything as taxable. We're going to make it very, very simple. All right, so in this particular screen, you'll see here that I can save and close this. And if I were to save and close this, it's going to close this window, okay? And if I were to save and add, what it would do is it would add this line item and then refresh this window to stay open where I could automatically add another. So let's do that. We're going to click on Save and Add. Okay, the item was added and now it assumes that I want to add another freeform item, and I can do so here, okay? I'm not going to do that for the sake of this exercise. We know how to do that already, but in this case here, if I can just stay on the screen, save and add, save and add, save and add all day long, okay? So in this case here, I would have clicked save and close just to add a new one. So let's close this here. All right, it says please wait, and it's going to go ahead and add my first item, okay? My freeform over here. So let's take a look at the anatomy of the listing screen that we see over here. This is all internal, what we're seeing right now, okay? So the customer's not going to see any of these numbers over here, but we have the line item number 1, we have the product name, the description down below, and then we have all of the math and the variables that are breaking this out over here. We've got a quantity of 10, unit cost is 100, markup is 400%, there's no discount being applied, the total is $500 per unit, the extended price is $5,000, and then of course we see the taxable made here. So all of this information is available to us over here, okay? All right, there's a couple of things that I'm going to cover immediately right here that we can talk about as it relates to some useful functionality, okay? So this is going to be applicable on all of the line items that we add to our quotes and our orders. And this is a very nice range of features here. Some of them are basic and some of them will really be useful to you. All right, first of all, let's talk about the edit. So all of these give us the capabilities to go back in and fix some pricing changes. We can change the unit cost, we can change quantities, fix typos, whatever that may be. Okay, so when we're done with that, we can save our changes and we'll be good to go. If I want to go ahead and duplicate this, okay, so let's just pretend I'm going to give another version of this, or I just want to use a lot of the work that I did already, so I'm just going to go ahead and duplicate this. All right. And so in this instance over here, I have now product name and product name, okay? So I can go ahead and edit this and call this one product name number 2. Okay, and then the price is going to change to, let's just say $50, so I can have some differences here on screen. And I'll click save, and now we have 2 products available to us. Okay, so I can edit these individually, but now I'm going to take the opportunity to also show you the edit entries. So when I start to have a lot of line items down below, I don't want to have to like open up one here and then edit it and then open up another one and edit that as well. I'm going to use the edit entries, and when I do that, it's going to open up all of my screens here where I can make mass changes. So if I want to do this one here and say I want to change this to a quantity of 12 and this needs to be a quantity of 5, then I can do that, and once I'm done I can click save and all of those changes will be made. Okay, so this one is now 5, this one is now 12, and when I'm done I click close, and it's going to take me back to the screen that I was just in, and everything is as I wanted it to be right there. Okay, so very, very nice. So I'm going to hold on to these 2 right now because there's another feature that I want to show you. From an organizational perspective when I'm done, and of course I can have a variety of line items in here already using a bunch of different methods. I may want to have a presentation in the quote to the customer, so maybe I see the product first and I see it trailed by install after, and that's great, I can do that. So how I would do that is just worry about getting in all the quotes, elements here, every product I'm going to be selling, all the services, and then when I'm done I can use the resort feature. And so there I can just basically say line item 1 is going to be line item 2, and then I'll say apply resort, and then we're good to go. and now it's put them in a new order for me. Okay, so that's a very, very nice feature. I've already covered the remove. When I remove the FedEx one, of course, you'll see me remove a couple more here. And there's another feature over here that we can now add line items to notes. Okay, so this is a very helpful feature when it comes to longer sales cycles where you might not remember where you got the pricing from. And so I'm going to use this as an example and show you some of your options. So I'm going to click on Add Item Note, and I'm going to put in this one pricing source. Okay, because when this gets to my project manager, they're going to want to know where I got the pricing from. So in this case over here, I'm going to say Acme Corp. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on orders, so this actually appears in the orders. Maybe I can do it in invoices too as well, or even work orders, so they'll appear across the board. And what I'll basically say here is the note's going to be call Steve for pricing. Okay? Now, very important, this is going to be an internal note, but if you want to have a note that's going to be visible on the quote to your customer, you can say include in print. Just be careful, because if you're buying this from another source like this, you're going to say include in print. This note's actually going to print out on the quote. Okay, so you have two options there. I'm going to keep this internal. So watch what happens here when I click save. Very nice feature. So first of all, it's obvious that I have a note that says pricing source, call Steve for pricing, but it also now puts the vendor name underneath the product. So when I'm going to make a purchase order, as my PM is going to make a PO down the road, maybe a month from now, they know exactly who to get this product from, because this is where I got all this information from Acme Corp, and we'll be calling Steve to move forward with that. Okay, so very, very nice feature that you have that there. So every time the vendor is mentioned, it'll be underneath the products. We'll only do it for this one here. If you happen to be working on something that requires a little bit more competition with your quotes to your customer, if you do have some images, you can upload an image here and the image will be available off to the side. We'll see what that looks like, images will look like in just a moment, but you can actually have a custom image. So if you're working with some sort of a project plan where images have been provided, you can upload the image there. Now, if you have inventory with images already or finished goods that you've made for customers, you can apply those images, and when those items are added to new quotes and orders, the images for that particular product will already be there. This is going to be for one-offs where you just want to go ahead and add an image. And finally is going to be the external link. And this is a very useful tool because a lot of times people have artwork or drawings that are going to be very large to upload, so they're going to want them on their local drives. And if you have the external link over here, this allows you to apply a path. So you can sit there and say, okay, F drive, customer accounts, and then you can say artwork. Okay, so maybe this is a folder that's over here, and I can put in here like CNC production artwork. Okay. You can make as many of these as you want, but when you click save, what's going to happen is that you're going to see now that there's an external link. And when somebody clicks on this, they can get this path over here. Full disclosure on this path is not clickable, and this is not a Mothernode limitation. It's a browser security feature. So no matter the browser you're using, it will not allow your users to navigate by clicking a link to browse the local network that you have, so no malware, anything dangerous can be placed onto your servers. Okay, so that's something you would just copy and paste in Windows Explorer or Apple Finder, one of the two, but it's going to tell you where the location is. Okay, and some people probably already have access to this as hot links in their on their desktop to begin with, but it's going to show you where that information is stored. Okay, so every time you see a little badge here for this, then you're going to know that there's a link that goes along with this, and you can have a variety of different links to different areas. It could be even pricing sources that you have stored on your servers and things like that. Okay. All right, so we've got this over here. We've gone through the free form. We've done edit entries. We've done resort. Okay. All right, so the next thing I'm going to cover over here is that as it relates to vendors, let's just say for a moment that what will happen is that you will have a vendor that is going to provide you with an entire sign plan. Maybe you're just buying this product out, this entire project from somebody else. And so let's just pretend they give you back a quote or an Excel sheet of maybe 20 items that you don't want to have to go through the process of retyping in here, right? So who wants to do that? You can, of course, but if you have that in a digital format, you can actually import these line items into here, okay? So let's take a look at this. What we're going to do is we're going to download the template in Excel, and then we're going to populate 2 items in here, and we're going to have them added into this list right here. Okay, so let's go ahead and do this. I'm going to download my template, and here it is in Excel. Okay, so I'm going to bring this down here. We're going to look at this here. All right, so in this instance over here, I'm just going to put item 1, item 2, item 3. Now, keep in mind, I would have been copying and pasting this from whatever my vendor gave me, okay? So I'm going to put in here sample, sample, and for the sake of this, I'm going to put in quantity. I'm going to do 1 here like this. Unit of measure is going to be each. Unit price is going to be 100. The markup is going to be 200%. No discount. We want to do made here. Taxable, yes. We're going to leave these out. All right, I'm not going to worry about these right here. I just want them. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the items that I just took here. I'm going to copy them here, and I'm going to put them like this. Okay, and now I'm going to save it. So let's just make sure we've got this here saved. Yes, I want to save it as an XLS file. Very important. We want to save it as an XLS file. And then I'm going to go back here to my program, and I'm going to say choose file. Okay, I got that here, and I'm going to click upload. And here we go. Okay, we've just uploaded these 3 files. So that's easy peasy, a great way to just get your stuff from your vendors very quickly. If they have a digital format, you can just copy and paste and put it into that format, and you're good to go. Okay, so we see that here. All right, so the next thing we want to talk about is adding service items. I'm going to go out of order here, but what we're going to do is we're going to add service items. So service items are going to be non-tangible items. They could be things like shipping, they could be permitting. Over here is an example. So if you have permits here, you can break it down here like this. And the benefit of the service item is it's going to pre-populate information based on what you normally charge. Okay, so if I were to go over here, permitting as an example, to change something else, it's going to change over here. It's going to have different information for me. So if you want to put in a standard description, the service that this is, etc., you can do that. We also use different categories. So I'm going to change the category here. You could use professional services like artwork, site surveys. Installation is going to be the most popular. So if you go to installation over here, it'll have all of your installation services here like this. And so what I'm going to do is installation standard, put that in here like this. And again, it's going to put in my default rates. If you have a minimum amount of hours for install that you want to have when you're in the field, you can put that default to be whatever the minimum hours are. Okay, so if it's going to be 4 hours, 2 hours, whatever that may be, okay, you can do that. And again, the rest apply over here like this. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to click save and close. All right, save and close, and here we go. We have our installation, outside work right here, and all this good stuff of what I have put on here. And now we have all of our money down below, right? So we can see as we're stacking this up, we have the total amount of markups, the total discount, subtotal over here, sales tax. Right now there's no sales tax being charged because in the quote it's a $0 sales tax, or there's a tax exempt number. We'll see that in a moment. And then we have our gross margin over here, which is going to be listed down here. So this is giving me our running total at the very bottom. Okay. All right, at the very top, we can see that I have my numbers across the top. Okay, so you can see here that I have my my total made here, my installation, my subtotal over here, no discount being applied, and then sales tax, and then over here we have the total amount for this estimate. Okay, so far so good. So service items are going to be anything we use that is going to be non-tangible. Professional services that we offer, project management, consulting, things like that we want to have on this list, we're going to have that included there. All right, great. So the next one we're going to do over here is going to be actually adding inventory parts and pieces. So these are going to be individual inventory items that we want to search for. Now, here's what's interesting about Mothernode. You can either sell an inventory component or you can sell what we call a finished good, which is a product that is not really stocked in inventory. We call it non-stock items, but it's a finished good that can be built out. So let's take a look at both of these. So what I'm going to do here is this. I'm going to click on inventory, and I'm going to search for, let's just look for mounting. Okay, we'll do something like this. So if I were to search on mounting and click on search, then you're going to see here, these are going to be things that have been categorized accordingly. Okay, so you're going to see some funky stuff in here, but it's just because it's a demo account. And in this instance over here, you can see I have some tape. A lot of customers really benefit from when they add their inventory. They actually, you'll see that we're using a lot of images, and when they actually add images, it gives a very easy way to hone in on the products, and especially when you're building components, you're using components to build out freeform and things like that. So in this case here, this is what you're going to see. So I want to add the mounting. In this case, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add 10 of these. Let's just do something like this, and I'll click save and close. And this is going to be the first example we have where we see an image over here. Okay, so that image is actually put in here. We're putting in some, again, the costs are crazy here, but in this case here, we're putting in the foam tape. We're adding this information over here. This is built from the description, etc. So this is just a single component or something that the customer is buying. A lot of this could be paper inserts, things like that. They may be needing to replenish on some of their items. Okay, so if you want to sell that like this, you are good to go. All right, let's do that one more time though. I'm going to go over here and I'm going to click on add inventory again, and I just want to call it some other things. If you want to look for a specific customer, well, first of all, it's going to pull for the customer's inventory in this case. I don't know if this customer has anything, but you can search for products that are just attached to this customer, okay? If they have favorite products, you can just say, hey, I want to see these. And you can clear the search after looking at this, or you can only say, just show me BOM items, okay? So we'll get into that in just a minute. But if I click on search, let's see if I have anything. No, I don't. There's also some additional search items that you can build out here for. So you want to include like an item number, or you want to include item code or SKU, things like that. You can do that over here, and you can search on these components here, okay? So these parts here. So I'm going to leave this like this. I'll click search again. I don't think anything's going to come up for these. Yeah, so I don't have anything for that. So I'm just going to clear the search, but this is how you can get really granular into what it is that you're looking for, okay? Even by location, all right, for that particular customer if you wanted to. All right, I'm going to clear this search over here, and what we're going to do is now we're going to look for what we call a finished good, okay? And this is going to be very high level at this point because we're not talking about building out the finished goods behind the scenes, but I am going to show you what this looks like on screen. So if I have some examples over here where I'm going to pull this up, and I'm going to pull up these items here, and then you can see I have these finished products, right? So let's take a look at this one over here, which is a bill of materials one, and I'm just going to add one, okay? And I click save and close. And now we're going to add, and I can stay on that screen and add more if I wanted to, but now we're going to see this one over here, and it's got a description, okay, over here, plus it has a price. Everything's going to be laid out over here. And then now what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on edit, and this is where we can see what is going to be included with this. You're going to see a lot of this in the freeform BOM for estimating, but again, this is going to be a finished good where the sign is already built out with all the components and materials down below, okay? So I'm not gonna get into the demo of this as far as like how to add some items here. That's gonna be part of the freeform BOM. So if that's what you're looking for, you can jump to that chapter ahead over here. But in this particular instance over here, I'm getting the anatomy of this where you can see my materials are making up my materials cost. My production labor over here that's being estimated is going into my labor cost. Together we have a unit cost. Somebody's put a negative markup in here, great. And then you still have the calculator in this case. So if you want to sell this for like $10,000 as an example, you can say do this, and then it's going to say, okay, the sell price is $10,000. It's going to put on 267% markup for you here. Okay, so you're going to put that in there like that. Now again, this is stored in my inventory. I'm calling this up. And more importantly, a lot of times what we're seeing here is that this is specific to a certain customer. So if you're working with customers where you're managing their brand and you have a lot of activity going on with that customer, it's a national account, international account, long-term project, whatever that is, it's better to put that information in up front behind the scenes, build it once, and then have it always available to order on the fly. Now, when you do this over here, if you have shop drawings, you can have them also included here as well. So if that's going to go along with the inventory item, you can actually put in the shop drawing there too. So these three areas are going to be really, really important. Down below, I'm just going to click on this. These are all the materials that go into making this. And you'll see more about the pricing exercise that goes into this of all the different things you can be doing. Again, you'll also notice that the imagery really does a good job here. Okay, so there's a lot of things you can be doing here. When you go ahead and you can you can add and swap out components, but you'll see a little bit more about this. Normally, I'm not doing this with a finished good item, because the whole intention behind this is that it's been built for me already. That's why it's been built for a specific customer. This is where I'm not going to be changing some things. Lastly, but most importantly, if you're using the Mothernode online reorder store for your customers, this is what is going to be the driver behind that. You're building out the product for them to reorder online in the future, and then so these orders come in automatically, okay? So it's a very, very nice process. So I'm just gonna click save and close. We're gonna get out of here. And then down below, you're gonna see that I have these items over here, okay? So I have this over here like this. All right, so what else can we do here? Well, let's take a look at some final other things before I get into some of the estimating tools. Is we can pull from order history. That's a nice feature. What did they order in the past and they want to order it again, including we have their favorites. It defaults to the customer that you're looking at to work with, and you can also look at the favorites. What's also nice about this is that you can search, you can clear the search, and if you know you've done work like this for somebody else in the past, you can actually call up that order for another customer and then add that product to this line item and make whatever changes you need to in this case. So over here, what I'm going to do is I can see here that I have a favorites, and then I'm going to put in a quantity of 2 for this one here like this, and I'm going to add this post and panel, and it's going to be added at the very bottom over here. They ordered it before, it's part of their standard group. You can pull from it and order it like this automatically. Now, for those of you who are wondering at this point, there's no standard way to work within this, that there's a variety of different ways. We consider ourselves in many of our processes what I always refer to as a 6-lane highway. You can see here that I could pull this from inventory, I can add it, I can also pull it from order history. It doesn't make a difference how I'm doing it. We're just giving you different options in the way that you want to work that's going to be the most practical to you, okay? So very, very important on that. All right, next thing you'll also see over here, if this is going to be product that I'm buying out, so this is something that I'm obviously getting from a vendor, so we're going to be sourcing this from somebody else, I can also do this. If I want to, I can pull from PO history, okay? So if I want to look at all my POs for different vendors and things like that, the process is exactly the same. You would just go ahead and you would just add that just like I did when I'm adding from order history. In this case, I'm adding from PO history, okay? I won't do it for the sake of repeating this process, but again, orders, POs, whatever you would like, you can go ahead and add those down here, okay? So very, very nice. All right, if you have a product, by the way, that has an image, you can choose whether or not in the quote you want to have that included. So the image in the product profile is going to appear over here. That means that we're going to include that, but if I want to turn it off and I don't want to show it in the quote, then I don't have to. So it's entirely up to you how you want to handle that. Okay, so the next thing I want to show you here is that I've cleared out everything in this quote, and we're going to talk about adding sub-items, okay? And then those sub-items are basically a way that you can blend multiple products and services together to make one price, and the customer doesn't know anything different. So I'm going to show you as an example over here. This is a simple one. A lot of times what people like to do is they'll take a product and then they'll put installation as a sub-item underneath it. So what they're doing is they're basically saying, this is how much the product itself costs, this is how much installation costs, and combined together we're going to get one cost for this product. In this way, when you start using sub-items, you're hiding additional costs so the customer doesn't get into the conversation about, well, how much would it be if I didn't use this and things like that, okay? It's not bill of materials, it's just basically combining multiple products and services together. So let's just take a look at something very simple here. I have my product, what this looks like, and now I'm going to add a sub-item. As you can see, I have a variety of different things that I can add in as a sub-item. So what I'm going to do is underneath my service items, I'm going to include installation, and then I'm basically going to choose install over here, install standard services, and we're going to put this in here like this, okay? And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to click save and close. We're just going to leave it like this, and you can see that I have item 1 and I have item 1.1. The product itself is $284.95. The installation itself for this product is going to be $69, okay? And together we get a unit price of $353. All right, let's see how this looks in the quote, but we do have an option. We have the ability over here to actually reveal the sub-item, or we can conceal it, okay? So it's not turned on right now, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna conceal it in the quote, and let's take a look at what that looks like. I'm gonna go up here, I'm gonna click on print, and then I'm gonna click just print, and we're gonna see what this looks like. I have my quote, And then down below you can see I have the one sign, but notice that I do have the cost with installation, but I'm not including the install description in this. So if you want to include that over here, you can do that as well. But in here, I'm not putting the line item here. It's not been revealed, okay? All right, I'm going to click on this again. We're going to take a look. And now what I want to do is I'm going to click on include in print. Okay, you'll do that here like this. All right, now what's going to happen is that when I hit print again, I'm going to print it. And you'll see here that installation, standard on-site installation is included, but it's not putting out the breakout of the $69 for this. It's again showing me the unit price for this over here of the two services, the product and services combined, okay? There's a couple of other things you can do with your print options. You can reveal some things, etc. If you want to, you can show what the individual price is with the sub-item underneath that. Most people don't do that because they're trying to conceal it to begin with. The preferred method is usually what you're seeing here where it's not being included. Okay, so it's not entirely up to you. You have a bunch of options available to you. Furthermore, if you have a bunch of items like this and the default is where they're not being included in print and they all have sub-items, what you can do is you can just hit include in print, and then basically it's going to turn all of them on to include in print. If you want to say don't include in print, it's going to turn them all off. Okay. All right, I'm going to show you the last component here for line items before we get into estimating in freeform. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on remove. We're going to get rid of the parent, and it's by default going to get rid of everything. We don't have any more items here. Okay. Now we can also use templates. In order to make a template, what you do is you'll start with a quote, and then when you're happy with the product that's going to be on there, you can make a template and save it to recall in the future. Okay. So what I'm going to do is this. I'm going to open this up and I'm going to look at some of the templates that I have, and you can look at templates by the templates you've created or templates by the current customer. So if you have a customer that's routinely ordering the same services and products over and over again, you can make a template for it and automatically call those back up. So what I'm going to do over here is I'm going to choose this one here that I have called Basic Sign System Plus Install, and I'm going to load the template. And when I do that, what's going to happen is it's going to show me the items that are part of this quote that are routinely going to be ordered. Now, you can determine which ones you want to have not included or included by just unchecking or checking the box. By default, they're all going to be checked. It's going to show you the information over here. You can make some adjustments here if you want to. Usually I like to do them when they're added to the quote after the fact, but in this case over here, you do have those capabilities. And then down below, you can see I have a restroom sign for women's. I have an ADA men and women's restroom sign. I have over here room number, IDs, and then I have an overhead garage, and then I have some install services and with an extra man. So I'm going to not include the extra man, and I'm not going to do the headache bar over here. Okay, I'm going to take those off, and now I'm going to say append to quote. And this is the important part. You're actually appending this to the existing quote. So if you actually have existing line items on the quote, this will add to that. It's not going to overwrite. So a lot of times you'll see people using the templates with their install services. So you can have all of your install services here, and then basically you can uncheck the ones that don't apply to this particular quote. So in this case here, I'm going to click on append to quote, click OK. And then you'll see that they're all going to be added. The ones that I wanted here will be added. I've got the restroom sign and the room sign plus the install without the extra man and no headache bar. Okay, so that's going to be included over here like this. This is where you can go ahead if you want, like I showed you earlier with edit entries. You can make some adjustments to these different quantities and things like that. When you're done, click close, and then you'll have everything here like this. Okay, so it's going to be nice. So it's very, very easy to see. All right, one thing to note is that I want to show you this before we print this out, or before we move on. We're going to print this out, and we also have the image product profile, so I'm going to show you what it looks like when you print this on the quote. So first of all, let's take a look at a couple of different options here. When I print this, by default, I am not showing the images because most of my quotes don't have images, but when I want to make those that do have images for a particular customer that has images on file, or I'm going to be uploading some, I can do that. But in this case here, let's take a look what a standard quote looks like. It's going to be plain Jane. This is what this is going to look like here. Okay. Again, we called this out earlier. The reason why we didn't have any tax being applied is because we have a tax exempt number here. So even though all these line items were taxable, the tax exempt number has been applied. It shows it here, and then we see the tax is going to be 0. Okay. All right, let's do this one again. We're going to print this out, and then what we're going to do is we're now going to say include images, And we're going to go a step further and say include product profile. Okay, so I'm going to print this again. And what I'm going to show you here is that now it shows the images within the quote, which is kind of obvious. Okay, it takes a little bit more real estate, but it looks really nice from a presentation perspective. And then down below, you can see here that this is where we're going to go ahead and sign. So this is what can be sent to them digitally for them to sign as well. And then down below that, we've elected to produce the product profiles, which is going to be an exploded view of each product. Okay, so when they are electronically signing this information over here, they're actually electronically signing these ones too. Okay, so very important. You'll go to the next one over here and you'll see that that's going to be signed as well. A quick note for those of you who are looking for the submittal process, there's a video on that for sending submittals for, signing and approval and making notes and so on and so forth. That is not what I'm showing you right now. That is a separate process entirely. Go take a look at that video. But at the same time, if you just want to have them signing off on these exploded view items here, they can do that too. Okay, that's going to be electing to include the product profile. All right. So in the future, if you've created a quote and you want to save it as a template, it's this easy. Just click on save, give it a name, okay? New template. As an example, if you want to make it private, just as something that you're doing that you don't want to contaminate a bunch of other things, you can do that too. But if you want here, you can just say save. And then what will happen is that you'll click on close like this. And in the future, when I click on load template, I'll just look for new template, which I started writing, right? So I'll just say search. All right, new template. This is the one that I made here for the ABC code, right? And if I click load, it's going to repeat that process and show me just the 3 line items that I have included with this. So it's that simple to do, okay? Again, I will re-emphasize that a lot of people do this with their install. They put in all their install services into one quote, and you have to have a quote to start this with, just like I did here. So make a quote underneath your company name, whatever that may be for install services are going to be used across the board. Fill up all the services in different quote line items, just like I did here, but I did it with 2 products and a service. And then go ahead and save that, and then you'll call these up install services in the future and allow your users to just say, yes, I don't need this, or I need this, etc., and they'll just go ahead and add the install. If you have different install rates based on geography of where you're driving to, so if you're driving off the island of Manhattan and you're going to New Jersey, things like that, you can say New Jersey install rates and then just have the equipment and the costs that go along with that, and you can have local New York ones, which will have the island of Manhattan, and you can say this was going to cost for that. So you can get creative and have as many templates as you want.